This is In the Loop. I'm Amber Strong, in for Christian Bryant. The crisis around plastic waste pollution is well known, and sometimes it can feel insurmountable. Recent data shows we may be headed in the wrong direction. According to a Greenpeace report from last fall, U.S. households generated an estimated 51 million tons of waste in 2021, and only 2.4 million tons were recycled. That tracks with this report from Last Beach Cleanup and Beyond Plastics. Only about 5% of our plastic waste is getting successfully recycled. 10% was incinerated, and 85% went to landfills anyway. Those numbers are pretty abysmal when we look at the EPA's current goal. The agency aims to get the national recycling rate to 50% by 2030. It can feel frustrating for those of us who actually take the time to rinse plastics and send them to the recycling bin. Last year, we spoke to Kendra Pierre-Lewis, a senior reporter at Gimlet from the How to Save a Planet podcast. She stressed why it's important to remember that our crisis for plastic can be overcome, but we might need to rethink our conception of what's really disposable and how to make better use of recycled materials.
Half of the world's plastic was only produced since the year 2000, so we often act like this is this system that's like old and very entrenched. Usually when we recycle plastic products, they end up what's known as downcycling, so they don't end up back as a plastic bottle or as a piece of cling wrap. They end up as carpet or as insulation or astroturf. And so at some point in that life cycle, it generally will end up in the garbage.
But new technology is allowing plastic waste to be recycled into something more effective: our buildings. One company has gotten the green light to test its new technology in Costa Rica, using plastic waste for construction. National correspondent Meg Hilling brings us this next story on the promising new solution.
Cleaning up plastic waste can often feel like an uphill battle, and it's one Don Thompson is all too familiar with.
And so, you clean up the beach and then you'd feel like you're cleaning up the same bottle the next week if it got back into the waste stream. So we just felt like we needed to figure out a way to do something with it.
Thompson, a developer and environmentalist, has been living in Costa Rica since the 90s and has spent the better part of the last few decades trying to address the plastic plague that has gripped his community.
We didn't really know what to do with the plastic, and beach plastic, and especially river plastic, can be pretty disgusting.
So, using his background in development and product design, his company, the Center for Regenerative Design and Collaboration, or CRDC, has partnered with the construction material company Pedregal to quite literally build a solution to this plastic problem.
A big part of my career was dedicated to bringing high quality building products to poorer people, because we felt and we learned that the very best way to get people out of poverty was to build them an appreciating asset.
That appreciating asset is what Thompson and his team call Resin 8. Put simply, it's a building material made up of shredded plastic waste that can be used in concrete.
We're from the industry. We couldn't just kind of try to hide trash in products. We had to make it turn into something that brought value, that brought certain qualities that we as contractors would look for. It made our products lighter in weight, made them better insulated, a huge benefit, better acoustic values, and in some cases, used properly, it actually lowered or increased the compression values of our products.
This video provided by CRDC shows how it works. Mixed and dirty plastic waste, resins 1 through 7, are shredded up, treated with a mix of mineral additives, heated, and shaped by a process called extrusion. The resulting material, resin 8, is then granulated and incorporated into concrete mixes. This is then used for building structures like homes, schools, and offices.
We had to make it environmentally benign. It had to be benign in nature, like it couldn't off gas, it couldn't do all of these things that could be noxious to the people or to the environment. So we spent a lot of time figuring that out. And in each one of those blocks, it's the equivalent of about 20 soda bottles. So it's like significant. In a house, it's probably like around 400,000. It's a big deal.
So where does the plastic come from?
The inflow of plastic comes from everywhere, from municipalities, post-industrial sources, the medical industry, you name it, the agricultural industry, we get plastic from those sources.
Having earned acceptance from the construction industry, CRDC and Resin 8 have been taking off, with facilities opening up outside of Costa Rica in places like Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and South Africa. with more in the works. Meanwhile, partnerships with Habitat for Humanity and the United Nations have been forming.
So one of our plants is capable of doing about 4.5 tons of plastic an hour.
As for the future of plastic waste,
There is this giant thirst within consumers. They want to believe again that there's a solution. Most consumers have kind of lost faith a little bit in plastic recycling. So we wanted to bring a solution to the market that they believe in.
Meg Hilling, Scripps News, Chicago.
Thanks so much for that, Meg. It's great to get a look at how plastic waste might be reused in such an impactful way. Now we want to turn our attention to ways plastic waste can be collected in the first place. We've all seen trash stuck in rivers and along beaches. Plastic is the most common type of debris found in our oceans, and after breaking down, microplastics can pass through the water filtration systems and get ingested, even showing up in human blood. The health impacts of microplastics in our bodies is just beginning to be understood. So the race is on to find new and effective ways of cleaning waterways and collecting plastic waste. National correspondent Jesse Cohen shows us new technology that might be a big solution.
There is something about the ocean that creates a sense of overwhelming serenity. That is, until you realize how some people treat our bodies of water.
I clean up the trash on my street on a daily basis. So people, they don't care. They'll put their trash in a plant or they'll just dump it. I mean, I've picked up diapers before.
As a community advocate in Los Angeles, living right near the beach, Lucy Hahn has watched careless acts have consequences in the Pacific Ocean.
So when people dump their trash into the street, it gets into the storm drains, and these storm drains empty right into our creek. So all the trash flows into our creek and out into the ocean.
Americans alone throw out about 4.9 pounds of trash per person every day. In 2016, Lucy started pushing for a solution.
Prior to the interceptor, the beaches would be so littered with trash, you couldn't even take a step without stepping on trash.
And 6 years later, her community is now the face of a new technology in North America.
And the interceptor was developed to address trash at the mouths of rivers.
A first of its kind trash interceptor in North America is now living in Bologna Creek for a 2-year pilot project. Steve Frazier with the Los Angeles County Public Works explains how it works.
The interceptor, as we see it here, has one trash boom connected during fair weather. During a storm event, it would actually have a second trash boom creating a V that channels all of the downstream trash right into the mouth of the interceptor.
A conveyor belt inside disperses the trash into 6 bins to balance the weight. The trash then gets taken out for proper separation and dumping.
The interceptor has the capacity to capture far more material in a storm event. It's compact, it's automated, it's much less personnel intensive when it comes to disposing of the trash.
Steve feels this is an opportunity to set an example for the rest of the country.
There's all kinds of jurisdictions watching what happens here with Los Angeles County to see how the interceptor performs in this kind of environment.
The technology was created by the Ocean Cleanup, a nonprofit based in the Netherlands, developing and scaling technologies to rid the oceans of plastic.
The problem that the pollution in the accumulation zones in the oceans is growing exponentially.
Joost Dubois with the Ocean Cleanup tells us about 80% of all plastic is entering the ocean through 1% of all rivers. There are about 100,000 rivers in the world, so their goal is to impact 1,000 rivers, which would help them stop 80% of the plastic influx.
This is actually our 10th deployment, but doing this in California and in the Western world is really special.
Approximately 51 trillion microscopic pieces are in the ocean, which weigh 269,000 tons. That's equivalent to 1,345 blue whales. And so far, this technology has had far more success than other efforts.
During the dry winter of last year, we did have some significant storms, but we caught about 30 tons of trash at the trash boom in the last winter. And already from this first storm, the interceptors captured 9 tons.
The hope for those with LA County is to keep the interceptor permanent. The data gathered from this pilot could help other coastal communities get one of their own. In Los Angeles, I'm Jesse Cohen reporting.